Hello everybody and welcome back to another MTG Bulk Mythic YouTube video. Today we're going to be looking at the Gift Edition Zendikar Rising Bundle. This is a product that is specifically put out around the holiday time with the current set for purposes of finding that gift for the Magic player in your life, or if you're a Magic player and you're looking for something that's a little bit special at the end of the year, then this is one of the routes that you can go. Now, normally a standard bundle is about $40 range. This one you will find usually around the $50 range. We'll talk about what the differences are between those as we get into this. I was actually able to get this at my LGS TC's Rockets for $45, so shout out to them. You know, you can check them out if you're in the local area. They still have in-store retail. They have curbside pickup. Or if you're not, then they have online sales of sealed and single product as well. So this one here, $45 plus tax out the door. A lot of the other places you're going to find it, or about the average you're going to find, is $50. So looking at the back here, what's inside, you get a special oversized gift edition spin down dial. You get 10 15 card draft boosters. You get this awesome foiled card box. You get some premium foil and regular basic lands, and then an alternate art premium foil of Cherix, the Raging Isle. In addition, that's the same as what would be in a normal bundle. The box is not foiled, it's got different artwork on a normal bundle, but the kicker here, what you're paying the extra $5 to $10 for, is one Zendikar Rising collector booster. And for those of you who watched the collector booster opening, those are, you know, a little bit fancier of a booster pack. Retail is about $20 to $25 on those. So the fact that you can get an extra one in here for about $5 to $10 more than a normal bundle is actually a pretty good deal. Because if you think about it, the average draft booster price is about $4. So you got 10 of those is $40, and then another $10 will get you a collector booster. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open and get into it. So the first thing here, this art that we see on the outside, this is just a cardboard wrap that they use to kind of hold everything together. But once I can get into this, if this plastic will break, there we go. I'll show you something that a lot of people either don't know or haven't been paying attention to or have forgotten. But once you get this off, right? So it's just a cardboard wrap. It's got the merchandising on it. On the inside, you have your anti-theft cards there to keep you from walking out the store without paying for it. They all come with this weird pencil box, for lack of a better term. It's literally not the right shape to keep cards in. It's a fairly sturdy box, but really the only thing you could use it for is like maybe some dice, but pencils, I guess pencil box would be great, right? And then you have the main box. You get a cool little art card here. This one's double-sided with some allies there. We got a whole party going on in this one, because party is kind of the theme of this set, which is kind of a neat little deal. But before we get into what's inside this box, one thing that a lot of people really don't notice is that if you take this, there is some rubber cement at the bottom that allow you to separate the seam. And when you open up on the inside, there is another panorama piece of art right here. So any of the bundles, the regular bundles, the gift bundles, will have this on the inside. I think they're kind of neat. I've been collecting a bunch of them. I got a pile of them that go all the way back to like Khans of Tarkir time frame and stuff like that. And then this glue will actually come off fairly clean, so that once you get it off, you can lay it flat or do whatever you want with it. Again, I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with all these, but I've got one from every bundle for about the last 4 or 5 years, if not longer. So we'll set that to the side right now and get into the meat and potatoes. So this here, you have a foiled art box, and this is kind of like the comic book style art, very similar to the art that's on the Triomes from the Ikoria set, which is kind of cool. You get an oversized D20 spin down, and they've recently changed the design of the spin downs so that the numbers are always oriented the same direction as you roll down the die. So it makes it a lot easier for using it as a life counter if you want to do that or whatever. And then in these packs here, we have, here's our foiled Cherrics. And then I'm assuming that these are the 20 foiled lands that are in this package. So here's our Cherrics, and yes, these are the 20 foiled lands from within the set. This one here, I don't know if the camera picked it up, but this one's got a couple of lines. This one has a vertical and a horizontal line, almost as if like a die or a blade touched it, or if it just dragged on something on the conveyor belt. So I don't know if you can see it, but there's a horizontal line here and a vertical line here in the foiling, which is a print error there, production error. But otherwise, you know, they look pretty nice. The one thing I would say, you know, if I had a complaint about these, is that all the basic lands out of your booster packs are full art. Literally the only place where you get the standard sized art basic lands in foil is out of these boxes, which I think is a little awkward. Like, why don't you just put the full arts? Again, with the non-foiled basics, it's the same thing. So they're the normal art size basics, but it's the same art that would be on the full art cards that we'll find in these booster packs when we open them up, just trimmed down to fit in the normal art box. Again, I think it's just kind of strange that they only produce those for these bundles, the gift bundles and the regular bundles, and I've also seen them in like the intro decks. I guess they're not intro decks anymore. Now they're like they have the commander decks for each set. You get a couple of tip cards on with rules on them. So for beginners, they can kind of get a little guides to help them through their turns and remember the steps and the phases. And then you have on the inside of the box, you have this neat little divider insert, so you can use it to divide up your cards inside the box. And these are actually super sturdy boxes. I hang on to the bundle boxes. I use them when I'm sorting for any cards that don't end up in my binders, because one, they represent, I can put the cards from that set in them, keeps my stuff organized, it labels them essentially for me and stuff like that. And then of course we have our 1 collector booster and our 10 normal boosters. So let's go ahead and start cracking into these, see what we actually get. All right, so not going to spend too much time on the commons, really. Some of the big cards in this set, there aren't very many. I think a lot of the value of the paper market, see that's what the full art lands will look like right there instead of those half art lands, right? So I think, in my opinion, a lot of the lack of value in the paper secondary market for these cards has to do with the fact that there are not a lot of places where you can actually sit down and play a game of Magic, a paper game of Magic at like a local game store. There aren't any sanctioned paper events. All the tournament play and things like that is being done via Arena or Magic the Gathering Online, which is great for viewing. You know, they put that stuff on Twitch. It's really easy to watch. It's a lot more entertaining to watch for some people than watching people, you know, sitting across from each other on a table and just having a top down like this of an actual card game. Arena definitely looks better than Magic the Gathering Online to watch as well, but in the meantime, very few people are really trying to acquire physical Magic cards for the sake of building decks. Other than Commander, I mean, Commanders are still out there. Commander players are still out there. I'm still building Commander decks and things like that because they're going to be relevant throughout. But like, who's going to build a standard deck now when we don't even know if half the cards are in it are going to rotate out before you can even sit down and play it? Nobody's going to invest in that. So that's just kind of my take on it right now. I still think that there's a chance that these cards are going to come up, like physical cards are going to come up in value once sanctioned in-store play comes back. Here we have a foil Cliffhaven Sellsword, which is a It's just a 3/1 vanilla, as they say. And there's no real rules text. There's just a big block of flavor text in here. But a 1 and a white 3/1 vanilla is a template that they put in almost every single set. In prior sets, they were usually like a pet or a companion and things like that. So a 1 and a white 3/1 at common is just a kind of a filler card for draft purposes to push that aggressive white strategy that is there. And here he's binding. Again, if I was drafting, this would probably be one of the most picked cards I would draft. It's just great removal. In limited, I don't know what it's going to do. I haven't really seen it do anything in constructed, you know, playing on arena and things like that. But who knows, right? It's a good white removal spell, as they always are. And here's Gracma, the Skyclave Rager, a Hydra Horror legendary creature in black and green. I actually have one of these already that I've already set aside to go into my Hydra Commander deck that I'm looking forward to figuring out how I'm going to slot that guy in there. Yeah, 3 mana and what it does. I think it's great for the low end of the curve in that deck when a lot of what your strategy is trying to ramp up so you can just play bigger and bigger Hydra, using X in the mana cost to make them larger as time goes on, so you just always have the biggest thing on the battlefield. So, you know, if you haven't seen already, I did do a quick deck tech of my Slivers Commander deck. I will do a deck tech of my Hydra Commander deck, and make sure that I can mix it up on the channel and kind of show you some of the other things that I do with Magic the Gathering. Here's the alternate art showcase Fearless Fledgling. 1/1 with landfall. Whenever land enters the battlefield in your turn, they put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gains flying until in a turn. So this is definitely in the white decks, the white landfall decks, is a key card, a key uncommon in those decks. And here we have Amaria's Call. So this is part of the mythic modal double-faced land spell cycle. There's one of each color. They're extremely expensive on the front side for the spells, but they're highly impactful. So here you have a create 2/4/4 White Angel Warrior creature tokens with flying, and then non-angels you control gain indestructible until your next turn. So you get 8 power in the air on 2 creatures and indestructible across the board with everything else. So maybe a curve topper for White Weenie, but really where the cool part about this card is on the back side is the land. It's also a white land, so instead of casting the spell, if you're not 7 mana yet, you can go ahead and play it with this side up as a land, and you may choose to have it enter the battlefield untapped if you pay 3 life, otherwise it enters the battlefield tapped, and it's a white land. So they're calling these the Bolt lands as an homage to the shock lands that already exist in the non-rotating formats. So I see these, you know, eventually working their way into those non-rotating formats, because it's another way to kind of assist your deck and giving it more utility without taking up a land slot, but trimming down the number of lands so you can put more spells in it. It's an interesting trade-off, and I'm really interested to see how they start working their way into those formats. So those are really fun cards to look at going forward. So here we have in our rare, here's the Myriad Construct. It's a little bit meh for me. It's a colorless 4/4/4 with kicker that you can make it a 5/5 for each non-basic land, or you get +1/+1 counter for each non-basic land your opponents control when it's kicked. So maybe if you know your meta in Commander really well, or maybe it's a sideboard card in a non-rotating format to go against some of those multicolored decks that really don't like basic lands, but you have to get to 7 first before it's relevant. So, and then when it becomes the target of a spell, sacrifice it and create a number of 1/1 colorless construct artifact creature tokens equal to its power. So it's kind of got the illusion effect of if it's targeted, and that includes your spells, by the way. You have to sacrifice it, but then it replaces itself like a hangerback walker almost. Weird. Not sure how that's how that's really gonna do things. Going through here, a lot of the, or actually all of the equipment that I've seen so far in this set has this first clause here that when it enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature you control. And then it still has an equip cost, so you can move it around, or if the first creature you have it attached to dies, it falls onto your battlefield, you can re-equip it, which I think is kind of cool. Takes a lot of the sting away from having to cast equipment and then cast it, so that's pretty cool. Here's the Seagate Stormcaller. It's a blue 2/1 for 2 with kicker of 5. That's 4 and a blue for kicker, so it's a grand total of 7 mana, 2 which need to be blue to kick it. And then when it enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less you cast this turn when you cast it. And then if the Stormcaller was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. So this has actually, I've seen it played in Historic, at least prior to the, what is it, the remastered set from Kaladesh that they just released. To play this, and then there's a red creature, a red spell that also copies a spell that you've cast, and then you somehow get Neoform into play, sack it to search, and then you search up all the creatures that copy the spell, so you can search up another creature until you get all 4 of the Stormcallers and all 4 of the red creatures, and then the last one you search up is the Tuk Tuk Fort that gives everything haste, and they all make each other bigger, and then you swing in an attack, and it can do some pretty big damage all in one turn. Once it goes off, it's if you don't have interaction for the first piece, you're not going to interact with it, and then they're all going to attack for like 30 something damage, and unless you have a lot of chump blockers, you're going to die. I've played against it with my mono green elves historic deck, and I managed to beat it just solely because I was able to get their life total down low enough that when the combo went off and they attacked, I had enough chump blockers to not die and then attack for the final points of damage. So here's Ruin Crab, everybody's least favorite mill card, unless you're playing it. A lot of talk online about people hating that. I don't see what the problem is. I play my mono red standard deck, and it has all the deal 3 damage burn spells in it, which kills the Ruin Crabs and all the rogues, so I'm not too unhappy about that. And a foil Skyclave Geopede. Coming down to the last regular pack, and then we get into the 15 card collector booster. All right. The cool thing about these collector boosters is the Zendikar expedition lands, right, that are not part of the set but were printed to be put in as box toppers and things like that in the booster packs. You can get foil versions of those cards in these collector boosters. The only place to get foil versions actually is in the collector boosters, and then you get non-foil versions as box toppers in other booster boxes. So that's kind of the real fun, exciting part about that. We'll see if we get one in there. They actually seem to be being opened up a lot more frequently than I thought they would. Seeing other openings and things like that, people are finding these foil expeditions in these packs fairly frequently. But our rare here is Hagram Mauling. It's 2 and 2 black. It costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands, and you can destroy target creature. So it's 4 mana or less to destroy target creature. And on the back side, if you don't have a creature to kill, you can go ahead and play it as a tapped black source. So I like looking at this, like, just so you know, this mountain right here really stands out to me. I think that's a pretty awesome mountain. The full art lands, they went 100% new art in this cycle of full art lands from Zendikar. This is literally the 3rd time we've been to Zendikar, and the first time, of course, was the first time we saw full art like this. And then when we returned to Zendikar for Battle for Zendikar, they brought back some of the classic art and had some new arts, but all of these are brand new. Like that forest is pretty awesome in my opinion. I'm kind of low-key a bonsai fan, and just seeing like really artistic looking trees, wrapped around stones and in pretty, what appear to be unnatural positions but really feel natural. is kind of a fun thing for me. And then they have the homage to the teacup lands here with some of the obsidian in it from the wastes that is starting to like reshape Zendikar after the Eldrazi have gone. So they have some really awesome art in these new basic lands, and I'm kind of excited about that. I do have a big stack of full art BFZ lands that I collected when I was opening packs back then, just to use in my constructed decks. But I might have to switch some of them out for some of these new ones, to tell you the truth. So here's the bonus, right? Here's what you're spending the extra few dollars on top of a normal bundle to get, is this pack right here. And the foily box, which is pretty cool too, but it's really this pack right here. So let's see what we've got, all right? A handful of foil common and uncommons to start out. Generally not too exciting for the most part. You get the foil full art land, which is, in my opinion, what should be in the foil land packs in the bundle, but that's just me. Here's a Skyclave Apparition. Like, this is, as far as I know, the most valuable card in the set right now. It's played a lot in modern and historic, as well as being a mono white staple in standard constructed. It's just a good removal spell. And I actually got tripped up by this because a lot of these effects that exile until the creature leaves, if you destroy, like, say it's a Banishing Light or something like that, or no, that's an instant, or one of the enchantments that exiles until it leaves. If the enchantment enters the battlefield, targets your creature, you destroy the enchantment, then the creature never actually leaves the battlefield, right? This one's worded differently. It says exile the creature, and then when Skyclave Apparition dies, the exiled creature's controller gets an XX illusion. So I goofed up, let this thing come into play, and then I burned it while it was targeting one of my creatures. So when it died, my creature hadn't been exiled yet, but the exile ability was still on the stack. So what ended up happening is the create the XX illusion went on top of that, resolved with no creature actually exiled, and I got nothing back, and my other creature still went away. So I was a little disappointed. I didn't see that coming. I figured, that's a long explanation for a pretty interesting rule interaction that's actually worth knowing, because if you don't, then you'll get caught like I do, right? So now you know. And then we have a foil Archon of Emeria. Again, these sets, or these boosters for the collectors, have several slots that you can get rares in. So here's a foil Archon of Emeria. It's another staple in the mono white deck. Here's a Skyclave Squid. These are the only few non-foil cards in the set, but you have some showcased squids, another showcased Fearless Fledging, and here's a full art double-sided Riverglade, Lava Glade Pathway. These are pretty awesome. Again, the pathways, super excited about. I'm trying to hang on to as many of them as I can, because I think they're going to become very highly played, very sought after in physical paper when sanctioned play comes back in basically all formats. All right, that's just my call. You don't have to follow me on it. I wouldn't make any financial decisions based on anything I say. I usually don't make financial decisions based on anything I say. So take it for what it is. And then we have a foil extended art Arc Priest of Iona. So it's a 1 white mana for a star 2 human cleric. Arc Priest of Iona's power is equal to the number of creatures in your party. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying. So at the most, it's a 4/2. And if it is a 4/2, then you can give it or any other creature +1/+1 and flying at the beginning of combat, because you have a full party, which is kind of cool. I don't know how easy it is to get in maybe mono white, but I kind of like it. I mean, it's guaranteed a 1/2 for 1, right? So there you have that. And then you have the double-sided foil token, and this cat beast is dark, man. Look at that. That is crazy. On the back side is a construct, so this is what that construct we opened earlier breaks apart into if it has +1/+1 counters on it when it dies. So that is the holiday bundle. Again, if you are looking for something in that $50 range as a gift for a Magic player or whatever, trust me, if you were going to get them a bundle and you can afford the extra $10, get the collector bundle, because just that collector booster alone really makes it up. You would spend about $40 on 10 booster packs anyway. So why not buy them in a nice storage box that you can keep, or they can keep their cards in, and spend a few more bucks to get one more fancy pack that is going to have, you know, a higher rare rate, an opportunity for some exclusive cards, things of that nature. So it's a really fun product. If it's in your price range, I highly recommend it. Again, if you're looking for those specifically, if you're in the San Diego area, as long as they have them in stock, TC's Rockets is selling for $45. You can find them almost anywhere, about on average for $50. So you could check them out in store, online, curbside pickup, whatever you feel the most comfortable with for sealed and singles product. I'm probably going to be sorting through a lot of these and bring them into the store to trade them in so I can get my credit back up and buy more cards for Commander. So thank you for watching, and check out some of the other product opening. I'm going to link a few of those so you can see some of the other different products we've opened so far from Zendikar Rising, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, like, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment down below so that we can, you know, let others know that we're sharing our hobby together. All right, bye.